Hello, everyone. Welcome to the new episode of this Kadıköy podcast. I'm your host, İlkay, and today I'm joined by Dom and a special guest, James Rowe. So, how are you today, James?
Very well, thank you, guys. Thank you for having me on. I hope you're both well.
Thank you very much. We feel glad, and I'm happy to have you on the podcast. A big pleasure.
Nice to be on. Thank you.
And Dom, how about you, my man?
I'm doing good as well. We just had a nice win. We just watched before this. And yeah, looking forward to the podcast.
Absolutely. Fenerbahçe just beat Erzurum Spor 3-0, so we are very happy with that. Spreading positive energy to the whole universe. And James, we know that you are interview footballers and managers, so can you please tell us more about that?
Yes, absolutely. For those that don't know, my name is James Rowe. I'm originally from the UK. I was born and raised in the UK. I emigrated to the Netherlands nearly 15 years ago now. And for the last 4.5 years, I've been interviewing professional players and managers at all different levels of world football, including the likes of Jamie Carragher, Simon Barker, Graham Potter, and many Dutch players as well, playing their trade all over Europe, including Martijn de Rosa and Ricky van Wolfswinkel, closing in on nearly 300 publications in the last 4.5 years. And my current work can be read on the football website The Secret Footballer, and also football website Football CFB. So there's 3 of my interviews published a week, and there really is something for everyone. And I always say that every professional player and manager has a story to tell.
Well, I mean, you are doing great. I just checked some of your works. I'm very impressed, and I'm very proud and happy to have you on the podcast, who has such a great knowledge about football and interviewed lots of great managers and footballers. So I'm very impressed, and thank you once again for joining by. And we know that you're an Arsenal fan, and you probably seen the rumors about Mesut Özil linked with Fenerbahce. But first of all, I mean, there are lots of topics. We don't know what really has happened with Mesut Özil and Arsenal before he left out of the squad. There are some rumors about that. We really don't know. But do you have any idea why he left out of squad? Because I saw that Arsenal was saying that it's about like football, about Mesut Özil's performance, or I mean the way he fits the team. But some say there are some like political views, about the Mesut Özil back in some Uyghurs in China. So do you have any clue about this?
Well, first and foremost, thank you for the kind words about my work. Very much appreciated. Also to let the listeners know that they can also view my work on the 2 platforms I mentioned, and also follow me on @JamesRoweNL. In terms of the Mesut Özil situation, guys, I would like to go back to the beginning, where Mesut Özil received a contract extension from Arsenal, and the explanation as to why he was given the contract extension was by the then manager Arsene Wenger of it would cost us more to replace him. And obviously he's on big wages. There's nothing the player can do about the wages. I see a lot of Arsenal fans saying, oh, he's on this amount of money a week, so therefore that's been offered to him because they felt that it was justified to offer that to him. And if you think of his career as well, going back into the days of Schalke, Werder Bremen, Real Madrid, World Cup winner with Germany, there's no doubt he's an excellent player. But I really do think that it's a lack of judgment from also the club's part. I mean, if you think about the Ozil would play under Unai Emery. Ozil was a big part of Arsenal getting to the Europa League final in 2019. And then Arsenal, at the first sign of trouble, dispense of Unai Emery and then hire a inexperienced manager who was also not so long ago the teammate of Mikel Arteta. So it must have been strange for Mesut Özil as well to have an excellent manager in Arsene Wenger, of course, and then Unai Emery, and then have someone who's vastly inexperienced and is somewhat learning on the job. And I think as well, if I can touch on the fan base, I myself have been supporting Arsenal for more than 30 years, and I see a huge difference in the fan base now, where rather than look at the players previous, or look at what they've achieved before, or their injury record, or their quality, they want to kind of bang the drum for reputation, clout, and price tag. And in the real world, when clubs are looking at players, when decisions are made, it's not fantasy football. So I think there's been problems both at board level. I have heard the rumours about the potential political reasons behind the Ozil decision. I have no idea about that. I've only heard the rumours from different quartets of media. But if that is the case, then that's a very, very sad state of affairs, because we used to be such a football club full of pride, full of passion, and full of class, and we used to have such high standards that, for me personally, those standards are slowly slipping away. I mean, you can see not just the Ozil situation, but also almost every day on Arsenal Twitter, people are advocating signing this player or that player. It's not healthy to stockpile players. You can't stockpile players. You're talking about human beings with a livelihood, and it's not just simply playing the game. It's the diet involved, it's the condition involved, it's the player, it's the manager, it's the club. And one thing I've learned from the last 4.5 years, guys, especially speaking to players and managers at all different levels, timing is everything in football. Regardless of level, timing of a player signing for a club, of a manager coming in, timing of signing a particular player, or even helping your youth team develop, timing is everything. So I think rather than point the finger at the player, I think it starts at the top with Arsenal. And that is, at the moment, we have an owner who doesn't view Arsenal as his priority, and then you see that the negligence has kind of slipped down to even pitch level, in my opinion.
That's well said. And you also said that some, like, the fans are changing in Arsenal. I think, like, I saw when I checked the social media about the Mesut Özil thing with Arsenal, and when I see the comments, there are some like Arsenal fans who are non-English, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there are some fans who are English. So there's some, like, I think there's a problem, and then there's a like disagreeing about Mesut Özil thing. And I think non-English Arsenal fans, they really like, I mean, they are more like supportive than like some English Arsenal fans, like about backing up Özil. If maybe I'm wrong, I don't want to speak about that. But that's my view. And do you think I believe also it caused some problems for the club, and it also damages the club, like the club such as Arsenal, the big club. So it also damages the club, in my opinion. What do you think about this?
I think it's a very valid point. I mean, obviously times have changed and society has also changed. But I myself was born in London. I reside in Amsterdam, and before the COVID outbreak, I would fly from Amsterdam to London to see family and friends, watch the Arsenal game, and then come home. And it's a world game now where people fly all over the world to watch football. Gone are the days where the local fan still lives in Islington, for example, or still even lives in London. And I think I just think there's a little bit of a disconnect between local fans and foreign fans. But one thing you have to remember is it's a global game, right. And everyone is entitled to an opinion. I must say, in my own opinion, I've watched a lot of European football up until the Corona outbreak, where I watched. I would prioritise flying back to the UK for European matches in the Champions League and then Europa League. And I remember going to watch games against Rennes of France and Napoli and Ostersunds and Standard Liège and Frankfurt, and the disdain of, this is a pub team, we'll beat this team. We lost to Ostersunds, we lost to Frankfurt, and even though we won the game against Rennes, we were very, very lucky. They hit the bar, they hit the post, and they had some very good players. And I just get the impression that some fans seem to think, guys, that if it's not Real Madrid, or it's not Bayern Munich, or it's not Barcelona, the other team is nothing. But nothing could be further from the truth. I mean, we're touching on Fenerbahce. I've only ever seen Fenerbahce play once, and that was when they played here in Amsterdam against Ajax in the Europa League in 2014. And it was a 0-0 draw. It wasn't the greatest game you've ever seen, but the fans that travelled from Istanbul to Amsterdam, and the fans of Turkish descent of Fenerbahce that were living in Amsterdam and living in the Netherlands, I remember finishing early that day and getting ready to go to the game, so I went home. And this is about 4 or 5 hours before the game is due to start, and the city was absolutely rammed, absolutely packed. It was like you was in Istanbul in terms of the level of the fans, and like with Fenerbahce, you know, along with Galatasaray and along with Besiktas, you know, people say about Ozil potentially going to Fenerbahce. It's not a bad club, and you know, this is a team that's won, I believe, 19 Turkish titles and 6 Turkish League Cups. So Turkish Cups in that respect. So, but it's a big club. If the resolution is for Ozil to leave, then he wouldn't be. He'd still be going to a very, very big club, and it'd be interesting to see what happens in January in that respect.
Right, and I mean, yeah, you're right, especially about the fans that can have like different opinions, and some English fans they support Ozil, and like some, as you said, some local fans they support Ozil as well. And I hope this problem will solve very soon, and it will be because it will be better for both the club and Ozil. And as you said, timing is very important. So I think what Ozil will decide, I mean, at the moment, it will be perfect for him in my opinion. And I believe if he leaves Arsenal now, it will be better for him and for his career, because I don't think he will ever play for Arsenal again. At this moment, and there's only 6 months left in his contract, so his contract will expire 6 months later, and he will not he won't be an Arsenal player anymore. And but do you believe that, as you said, as you mentioned Fenerbahce before, so you probably know he's linked with Fenerbahce at the moment, and most of the rumors saying that it's a deal done. You know, it's a very possible move for Mesut Özil to join Fenerbahce. But you know, as we mentioned before, he's still an Arsenal player. You know, there's still 6 months left in his contract. And do you believe this move will happen this January, or we will have to wait 6 more months?
I think that typically with Arsenal, things will start to move maybe at the middle to the end of January. I mean, obviously we're in unprecedented times with Corona, where you can't necessarily fly back and forth and those kind of things. But yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if there is movement. But like today, Arsenal signed Runarsson for 1.3 million from Dijon. And there's rumours about Arsenal now wanting to go and sign a goalkeeper. We already have 33 players on the books, and people advocate buying more. But yeah, it was a youth prospect in Smith Rowe who helped us secure our passage to the 4th round of the FA Cup. And you know, I think the answer lies closer to home. But it wouldn't surprise me if there is movement. But we've got to be ruthless. You know, for the people that are being vitriolic towards Mesut Ozil. You know, it's from my opinion, it's a learning curve for Arsenal. It's a learning curve not to sack a manager at the first sign of trouble. It's a learning curve to look for stability, because can you imagine how different the Ozil story would have been if he would have continued to play under one manager, continued to play every single game that Arsenal would play? I think the opinion of the Arsenal fans would be completely different if that was the case.
That's right. And well, so I just told Arteta, I think like either the press conference or something yet tonight, or if I'm not wrong, it was like yesterday. I'm not sure though. You know, that's what I saw on Twitter, and probably he was asked about Mesut Özil. And he said that nothing changed on Ozil, Adu and the club speaking about the situation. So and probably they are talking about the contract problem, because Mr. is still paid by Arsenal, and if he wants to join Fenerbahce, so he needs to he needs to give up on some money from Arsenal. So do you believe that Mesut Ozil will decide, okay, I don't want no more money from Arsenal, and I will join Fenerbahce, because he earns quite a lot of money from Arsenal.
I think lots of players realise that a career is very short and it goes by in a blink of an eye. And when you are retired, you look back on your career and you look back on your achievements. And it's important to think that you've achieved everything that you could achieve. And I think Ozil wants to play. it wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me if he does move on from Arsenal and starts to play regularly. It wouldn't surprise me if he starts to play very, very well. But then again, he'd be playing under a manager who would view him as the star player, as the player to maybe build the others around. And in the case of an inexperienced manager, I maintain, guys, that Arteta has no experience to fall back on. I go back to my last match before the COVID outbreak that I attended at the Emirates, and that was Arsenal Sheffield United in a 1-1 draw in January 2020. Arsenal were winning that game, and we looked comfortable. And Chris Wilder made 3 substitutions, and Arteta had no answer. And the game, Sheffield United equalised, and they could have very well won the game. And then after the game, there's vitriol from the fans of, oh, we're better than them. Why are they higher than us? And I said to one guy as I was walking back to the station, if you look at Sheffield United, obviously not this season, but last season in the context of that game, they have a manager who, even though they're currently bottom, Sheffield United, is some of the anecdotes I've heard from players that have played under Chris Wilder are absolutely amazing. You know, a real fantastic quality manager who really believes in his players, and he can fall back on that experience now. And for Arteta as well to be learning on the job, to start your managerial career at one of the 3 biggest clubs in England, having very little experience to fall back on, it's a big challenge. I mean, if you compare that to the Turkish league, for example, when you've got obviously the big 3 in Fenerbahce, Galatasaray, Besiktas, I have noticed that in the Turkish league, for example, with the likes of Başakşehir and Alanyaspor and others, that the promising Turkish managers at that level that managed to get their teams to cup finals, to win cups, to get into Europe, or even Sivasspor, I believe as well, they've also done quite well. I think they reached the Europa League. And you know, the bigger clubs look at those managers and give them the opportunity to improve. And in the case of Arsenal, they've dispensed of Unai Emery, who's now doing an amazing job at Villarreal, and dispensed of him far too soon, in my opinion. And you know, the inexperience is something which may cause problems in the long run for Arsenal, and Arteta will have to learn very quickly.
So you know, there's a Greek player, number 10, attacking midfielder Pelkas, who plays for Fenerbahce, who is already on form, a really great player, and he just scored 1 today, and so made an assist. So, and he plays as a number 10. You know, normally this is his position, but sometimes the Fenerbahce manager decides to play him as a winger. So Dom, you know, we all like we know that Mesut Özil is a Fenerbahce fan. So when he's always linked with Fenerbahce, the fans go crazy. You know, they really want to see Mesut Özil wearing the navy blue and yellow shorts. And so as I said, Pelkas is on really good form. So Dom, do you think? Of course, you want to see Mesut Özil playing for Fenerbahce, but do you think it should happen on January, or we can wait until till the summer?
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously, if you look at the newspapers and the transfer rumours at the moment, you know, Mesut Özil should be coming in January. But obviously, we're still not quite at that stage where anyone can say anything for certain yet. There's still a few things to go through. But I mean, it is looking, I think, you know, he could arrive in January. I think the issue is the finances, because he's either got to sort of terminate his own contract, and that involves getting some money from Arsenal, or him, you know, paying some money to them. And then obviously, you know, he's going to come to us. He's going to play for a lot less money. But with, you know, we're trying to get help with his wages through some sponsorship. So, you know, I definitely would be happy to see him and play for us, of course. And I think, you know, any team in the world would be happy to have him. I think, like, you know, he's a really great player. And, you know, maybe he won't be a starting player for every team in the world, but, you know, you look at some transfers, you know, these really big teams, maybe like Barcelona, Real Madrid, and, you know, you could see them signing Özil again. So, yeah, it's definitely, I think it's one of our biggest transfers of all time. You know, we have signed Van Persie and we've had Roberto Carlos as well. So I think he's definitely up there with those two. Could be our biggest signing. So I really hope he comes in January, because, you know, I think we do suffer a lot of injuries this season with, you know, coronavirus. For some reason, we decided to make it 21 teams this league in this year, from going up from 17. So we've got so many more games. We've had a lot of injuries this first half of the season. So, you know, if Ozil comes, he's just going to add to the squad. And, you know, we want to win the league again. You know, I hope he can, you know, come and help us win the championship.
Well, right, and I'm looking forward to it. I always want to see Ozil win Fenerbahce short. You know, this is like a dream come true, both for Fenerbahce fans and I think for Mesut Özil, because I saw like Mesut Özil's brother. He posted a story on Instagram. Maybe you guys seen it. He posted a Fenerbahce logo on Instagram. Like probably he was giving message to fans that okay, Özil is on his way to Fenerbahce, which was very exciting, and it was all over the social media as well. And but you know, there's like as Dom mentioned, like Turkish league, we have seen lots of superstars such as Van Persie, Roberto Carlos, and you know even our rival signed big stars such as Drogba, Wesley Sneijder, you know, Quaresma, many names to come on. But you know, there's always like the constant thing that what if the player, the big player, the star you're signing, can't perform as you expect? This is a big question because you know the last time like Galatasaray signed Falcao, you know he's now a very disappointed player. Like he's injured and he didn't really do well at Galatasaray, to be honest. So but Özil I think he doesn't have any injury problems as far as I know. But he's been like in the last few seasons at Arsenal. You know, I saw some comments. Some fans were calling him like being a lazy player. You know, so like he doesn't perform in big games. So what do you think about this, James? Do you believe that he was actually a lazy player at his time at Arsenal? I don't want to mention his first a few seasons at Arsenal because he's been brilliant in my opinion. But about last few years at Arsenal, Mesut Özil, do you think he's been a lazy player and he didn't really perform in big games?
Well, I think that I think he suffered a little bit from the teammates that are around him. And to give you an example, I was at the Arsenal Monaco game in 2015 where Arsenal lost 3-1 to Monaco. And before that game, I heard people say, "Oh, we'll beat this team 4-0. They're useless. They're rubbish." When nothing could be further from the truth. Before I entered the turnstile, I turned to a fellow Arsenal fan and I said, "You are aware that they topped a group with Bayer Leverkusen, Zenit St. Petersburg, and Benfica." I said, "If you top a Champions League group of that quality, then you're obviously a very good team." And although the Arsenal were very poor that night, Monaco were excellent. And the point I was trying to make is Olivier Giroud missed a hatful of chances in that game, and was maligned and cast to one side by Arsenal fans as being completely useless, and we've got to get rid of him and get a new striker. But since Giroud has left Arsenal, he's gone on to win prizes with Chelsea. He's gone obviously with France being a World Cup winner as well. And so he's obviously of excellent quality. And I just think that Arsenal chopping and changing managers, ethos, transfers, players, it hasn't helped. As I go back to my previous point, if Özil would have had a sustained period of playing literally every single game with a manager who believes in him, I think we'd be in a completely different position. But I think in the case of Unai Emery arrived at Arsenal having players at his disposal who were far too comfortable. The likes of Laurent Koscielny, for example, who I still can't believe has played over 250 times, for Arsenal. And Unai Emery had every right to test these players to find out if they were tactically aware and if they had enough intelligence and ability to do what he was asking them to do. But obviously certain players didn't take kindly to that. And then obviously when things went south, Arsenal sacked Unai Emery at the first sign of trouble. And I just think that, you know, the lack of a sustained starting 11, the same starting 11. I mean, we're in 2021 now, and you still cannot, before a starting lineup, name 5 or 6 players that would be starting, barring suspension or injury. There's always chopping and changing. There's always strange decisions. And I just think that people jumping on top of that as well, like, for example, you say about the clamour for social media. You see a lot of people that claim to be in the know, for example, what they call ITK. And I deal with professional players and managers and clubs almost every day of my life. And there is certain information I would never divulge, because you're dealing with professional players and managers, and you're dealing with livelihoods, and you must keep your integrity. But I think there are certain fans who have maybe channels or have a lot of social media clout who think that they speak for maybe the entire fan base. Maybe someone who has bad words to say about Mesut Özil, for example, might put up a YouTube video and literally criticize him, and then people think, oh, that the whole fan base must think that. But I just think that in terms of Ozil, what's been going on off the pitch with managerial changes, with owners. For example, Arsenal brought Thomas Partey. It's completely unnecessary in my opinion. But what happened when we signed him? Oh, we haven't had a player like that since Patrick Vieira. Yes, that's correct, because you can't go out and replace a Patrick Vieira. And there's, as the saying goes, there's more than one way which leads to Rome. And if you look at Arsenal at the moment, they have Nicolas Pepe, Mesut Özil, Willian, Aubameyang, and Lacazette on wages and Thomas Partey as well. They have them in excess of wages of £1.5 million a week. And even in a current pandemic, that's not sustainable. Without Champions League football, that's certainly not sustainable. But nobody wants to talk about these things. They'd rather talk about Mesut Özil being lazy, when obviously he's not lazy. He wasn't lazy for Germany, wasn't lazy for Real Madrid, wasn't lazy for Werder Bremen nor Schalke. But I think that he's obviously he's not whiter than white. But if he's not playing, he can't prove people wrong, can he? So I think it's really is I think it's been a comedy of errors, really, both from the club and obviously, at the cost of the player as well. And it's a very sad thing, in my opinion.
So, I mean, the social media, like, there are a lot of people who do everything for, like, chasing clout, like, they will say something and they expect people to follow them, etc. But I agree with you. I don't really believe that Ozil was a lazy player. As you mentioned, like, he played for Real Madrid, and he was a very important player for the German national team, and he won he won the World Cup. He won like lots of trophies. So, I mean, if he was lazy, he wouldn't have won none of them, right? But we had the same problem. Like, Dom, do you remember we had a player called Alex de Souza? So he was like kind of like getting benched a few times because the manager think he wasn't running, he wasn't dribbling, but the guy had incredibly like technique. He was like a maestro. So and Dom, I want to ask you that: do you believe, like, because the Alex de Souza is a legend for Fenerbahce? He has a statue near the stadium, and he's loved by every Fenerbahce fan, not just every Fenerbahce fans, like even the rival fans love him because he's a really, really good character. He's respected by everyone in Turkey and loved as well. But Dom, do you believe that Mesut Özil will follow Alex de Souza's footsteps on the pitch for Fenerbahce?
I think so. I think he's a professional enough to do it. And if I can just give you both an anecdote, I spoke to a player once who I asked him about opponents that he'd faced, and he mentioned the name Alex de Souza, and he mentioned playing Fenerbahce, and he also mentioned Mathieu Balbuena, who is I also think is a tremendous player, even since his days at Marseille. A very, very good player. And he spoke about Alex de Souza being physically very strong, being able to get out of difficult situations, and having a lot of power in his shots. And this is what I mean about people jumping on the reputation, and not a lot of people would have heard of Alex de Souza, not a lot of people would have heard of Mathieu Balbuena. But if you look past the name, because unfortunately Arsenal at the moment is a fan base, it's very much they say, oh, he only cost £15 million, he must be useless. oh, he's not good enough to play for Arsenal. I'll give you an example. There's a winger playing for Leicester called Mark Albrighton. He's a Premier League winner, played a vital part of Leicester winning the Premier League. And I don't think, very rarely have I seen him give the ball away. He also made assists for Leicester in this season's Europa League, I think away at Braga as well. And for the life of me, I can't understand why he's never been capped by England. I've advocated on my Twitter at James Rowe now, I've advocated Arsenal signing him, only to be told he's not good enough to play for Arsenal. He's rubbish. He's not very good. And I try to tell people this is a player who played an important part in Leicester becoming Premier League champions. And Mark Albrighton has achieved something which Partey, Aubameyang, Ozil, unfortunately, and Lacazette will not achieve, and that is winning the Premier League. And this is what I mean about the opinions of fans, is that if they're looking at, oh, it's a big name, he costs 50 to 60 million euros, he must be amazing. But there's so much quality worldwide now. I mean, you see with, I believe that Tosun at Everton is doing very well, a Turkish player. The player for Leicester, his name escapes me, or the pronunciation escapes me a little bit. I think he also played for Roma. And so there are many, many good Turkish players, and it's about casting the net wide and looking at the quality of a player. We were talking about Fenerbahce, Nabil Dirar. I watched him in that Monaco game I mentioned. It was tremendous, absolutely tremendous player. And correct me if I'm wrong. You guys will both know more, but I believe that Dirar is a very good and an important player for Fenerbahce.
And Alex de Souza and Mesut Özil, they look similar footballers, right? I mean, they both are number 10s, and they both are creative midfielders. And as you mentioned, we had like another crazy person, Matteo Balbi, and I always enjoyed watching him on the pitch. I watched him on the stadium, and it was like crazy. I was always enjoying myself. It was like watching a magician on the pitch, and I never understood why we let him go. And it's kind of sometimes difficult to keep some players in the squad. Maybe it's because of the financial situations you are struggling with. And now like Fenerbahce, I kind of say that we are doing well financially. And it was like I didn't want to believe it when I saw the Mesut Özil rumors, because we were kind of struggling with about financially, and we're not doing well. But there are some sponsors that would help us pay some of Mesut Özil's wages if he accepts to join Fenerbahce. And so Dom, as I mentioned, the financial problems. So but it looks like a deal done soon. But I wanna also ask you that you also watched Alex de Souza on the page, and we haven't seen any players came close to his legacy at Fenerbahce. Do you believe that Mesut Özil would get close to him?
Yeah, I mean, there's a few differences obviously between the players, and obviously Alex de Souza, he was one of our greatest players also because of how, when he came to the club, he wasn't, I can't remember exactly how old he was, but he basically made sure he had his best years with Fenerbahce, and he fell in love with the club like that. Obviously for Özil it's a bit different. He is, you wouldn't expect him to come to Fenerbahce too early in his career, and he's won the World Cup with Germany. Like, he's clearly he's a world class talent. And I think in history people say Özil is definitely a better player than Alex de Souza. But obviously Özil is now coming to Fenerbahce, and I think he's 32 years of age, so he's obviously coming a lot later. I think he's meant to sign a 3.5-year deal. So that I don't think he's gonna have the same effect as Alex de Souza. He's definitely have a similar technique, and he'll control games, I think, like Alex did for us. But I think it's quite hard to, Alex is, well, in my opinion, our greatest player of all time, and I don't think Özil will have to do a lot to sort of reach that level. So yeah, I think we haven't really had a player like Alex, and Özil can, be that guy for us again. But I don't think in terms of his legacy at Fenerbahce, he won't achieve the same things.
Well, I think also because Alex de Souza when he joined Fenerbahce, he was I think 28 years old, yeah, and he played for a long time in Turkey for Fenerbahce, and maybe that's the difference because Özil is obviously 32 years old, so I don't think he will be able to play football for a long time. I don't really see him like playing football at Fenerbahce at the age of 37 or 38. So maybe that's the point. I mean, because as I said, there's a huge difference about years. So I don't really think that I agree with you Dom, about that. I don't really think that he will get that legacy, but I believe he will be a very he will have a huge role at Fenerbahce, winning trophies in my opinion, because now we are in the championship race. But the only thing that the teams are very close on the table in the Turkish Super League, and there's a very like tough race for the championship. And if we sign Mesut Özil in this January, it will be a very big step, and will get us closer to the championship, in my opinion. But there's only a problem. I think Mesut Özil, he hasn't played football for a year, right? If I'm not wrong, James. So
Yeah.
and yeah, this will be, I believe this will be a problem for him to play like football. I mean, I don't really think that he will start playing for Fenerbahce once he arrived in Turkey. So, do you also think that this will be a problem? Yes, because Turkish Super League and Premier League definitely like there's a huge difference. And physically, Mesut Ozil, do you believe that he will really do well in the 6 months to help Fenerbahce win the Turkish Super League?
I'm not sure if he can help them win the league, but obviously to get match fitness is the most important thing. You see that Haller signed for Ajax from West Ham, and obviously recently and didn't go straight into the starting lineup. Obviously, match fitness is a massive part of this. Is he match fit? Is he able to play? I have no doubt that if Ozil did sign for Fenerbahce, that as soon as he's fit to play, he will play, and it would be a great boost for the club. It would be a great boost for the fans as well. And I think Ozil, I think he'd see the difference between fans welcoming him and really, welcoming him with open arms, as opposed to lots of negative social media comments that have been left. Arsenal fans doing podcasts where they refuse to even mention his name in some quarters, which I think is very strange, because he remains one player. It's not his fault he's not being picked. But then again, this is the same thing happened to Giroud. Giroud kind of, well, if you go back into time, Bentner when he played for Arsenal, he's not good enough. Giroud when he played for Arsenal, he's not good enough. Now Ozil is the next. He's on so much money and he should be playing, and get rid of him. Aubameyang will be next. It's like an ongoing conveyor belt, really, of who's the next target. Where until Arsenal get a heavy-handed owner who is actually on the proactive side, looking at the best interest of Arsenal. Like, for example, Arsenal had 11 defenders, and they went and signed a 12th defender. I see today the well-renowned football channel Tifo Football, together with The Athletic, I saw them doing sensible transfers for Arsenal. Arsenal have 33 players on their books. I don't really think it's sensible to do a sensible transfer video for a club that has 33 players on their books. But that's just my opinion. But I've spoken to players that a transfer has made their career and literally broken their career. And in the case of young players, like Saliba just left Arsenal on loan to Nice. Saliba's teammate Fofana is playing every single game for Leicester and improving as a player. Saliba signed for Arsenal only to return to France. And one thing that is important to let listeners know, obviously, this podcast is primarily about Ozil and Fenerbahce, but it's nice to give different anecdotes and give different information as well. For young players, when they transfer abroad, mainly for most of them, it's the first time they live independently on their own, without their family and without their parents. They learn to cook, they learn their life skills, and the club becomes their family. And it's very, very important that the club look after them. And if you take the case of Saliba, who's literally lost a year of his career, not playing at any level, and looks a little bit shaken having returned to France. Arsenal fans and the videos that are made saying buy this player, buy that player, they really do forget the human element of it. They really do, where in most cases when a young player transfers abroad, they have in the first instance no command of the language. They are living on their own. They are, it's kind of like a seminal moment. And when you have companies making videos like this, and when you have fans proclaiming, buy as if it's a stock market, I think it's a very short-sighted view, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's very well said. And like we were talking about Mesut Özil, when he found out he left out of the squad, like he didn't like for registering the Premier League squad, he said that he won't stop fighting for his place in the squad, etc. But I feel like his Arsenal story is about to end very soon. And well, as an Arsenal fan, I think you are like kind of upset about it. Maybe you're happy because I think everyone should be happy because it is the best for the player and for the club as well. If Mesut wants to play football, he should definitely go to Fenerbahce, in my opinion, because where he, as I mentioned before, where he will get loved by the fans and he will get respected. As you mentioned, he will like the fans will like open their arms for Mesut Özil. But I hope Mesut Özil will not feel like, okay, now I'm at a club where I'm loved. So if he wants to play football, in my opinion, he should leave Arsenal in January and should join Fenerbahce, and then people will be happy, in my opinion, like both fans, in my opinion. But I want to ask you that is Mesut Özil, do you believe one of the most creative players you have ever played for Arsenal? Because you had players like Dennis Bergkamp, so Cesc Fabregas.
Well, if I can answer your previous question before, I've often stated, only to be told that, well, I'll tell you what I stated and then I'll tell you what I've been told. I'm neither happy nor disappointed that Ozil will potentially leaving Arsenal. As I've stated on this podcast, it's like a comedy of errors from the club in terms of one day going right and one day going left, sacking a manager at the first sign of trouble, only to employ an inexperienced manager. So you reap what you sow. My biggest problem lies with the owner of Arsenal, where the current owner of Arsenal views Arsenal as just a healthy investment, a healthy long-term investment. And for me, that's the most upsetting thing. I'm not upset by one particular player. I'm not upset by one particular manager. But Arsenal need long-term a hands-on, proactive owner who is willing to make tough decisions. And at the moment, we don't have that. We have someone whose distance is based in America, sees Arsenal as a healthy investment. When I proclaim this after a bad result or things not going well before the 4 wins on a row, I was told by people on social media, "Oh, Kroenke's not playing. He's not the problem." He's the biggest problem, in my opinion, because it starts at the top and it's kind of filtered all the way down. In terms of the creative players, Ozil is one of the most creative we've had. Along with Fabregas, Bergkamp remains the greatest Arsenal player I've ever seen. And it's just an absolute joy to watch. And people forget as well, when Arsenal, I remember when Ozil made his debut, I believe in September 2013 for Arsenal, I was on holiday in America and I was following the game online, trying to check what the score was. And the expectation that he signed for Arsenal fans were completely through the roof. They were completely beside themselves that Ozil had signed for Arsenal. And if you fast forward now, 7.5 years later, it's the complete opposite. And if you look at the same with Aubameyang, when Aubameyang signs, he's absolutely amazing. When Ozil leaves, Aubameyang will be the next target. It's the same with Partey. Partey's amazing. I don't think anybody could tell you the club that Partey played before he played for Atletico Madrid. And I told Arsenal fans that was the Real Mallorca. And if you go from Real Mallorca to Atletico Madrid, and Atletico, even though they had an awful result midweek in the Spanish Cup, they don't miss Partey because they're top of the tree in Spain, and they've got an excellent chance of winning La Liga. I think they've also got 2 games in hand. So I think he does remain one of the creators we've had. Arsenal haven't seen the best of him. I'd put that down to both the player and the club. I wouldn't point the finger at just one person or one club in that respect. I think it's a combination of both. And from my point of view, I can only wish Ozil the best, first and foremost, like I do when I speak to every professional player. And I hope that Arsenal learn from their mistakes, where when they're going to buy a player, that they are buying the right player and not just because, so-and-so said he was good on social media, so he must be good. Like, for example, we've spoken very highly of Mathieu Balbuena, Alex de Souza, Nabil Dirar. We've spoken very highly on this podcast today about those 3 players. I'm certain that if Arsenal signed any of those 3 players, there would have been somewhat discussed. Oh, what did we sign him for? He's not very good. All 3 of them are excellent footballers. But again, unfortunately, Arsenal seems to have a psyche at the minute in the fan base, particularly the younger fan base. I'm not saying that it's just one group which is culpable, but I just think that people have very, very short memories at the moment, and I don't think that's helping things.
Well, I think this is also a big problem for almost every football clubs around the world, because there are some fans that like when you sign a new player, you always, like, as you said, maybe you watch some videos from YouTube or social media. You're thinking, okay, this is a great player. You're talking about him. Okay, we signed a perfect player, so you're happy about it. But when he performs like not you were expecting, then you started trash him. When you start like him, the next time you trash him. So I mean, this is what happened in Fenerbahce as well. Like, I mean, there are some fans that they love. I don't know why, but they love like spreading the negativity, which is very wrong. Because we on this podcast, when we talk about like the team's performance, of course we say, like, we need to say some words, but we always say it in the we always try to say it in the right way, being respectful, because like, in my opinion, if you keep spreading negativity, it won't help you to get success. Sometimes you need to say that, okay, this guy is not performing well, but you need to say it in the right way. You shouldn't say it like, okay, this guy is trash. He won't really, he will never do well. He needs to go. I mean, this won't help you to get success, and this won't help you to perform like you expect him to play. This is my opinion. So this is why I really wanna, like, I don't wanna keep my hopes up for Mesut Özil. Yeah, he's a brilliant player, but because this is what happened when we signed Van Persie. Everyone was expecting Robin Van Persie to win us trophies by himself, but guess what? Van Persie won nothing at Fenerbahce. He left with empty hands from Turkey. So then I saw some before he was about to leave Fenerbahce. Before that, fans were saying that, okay, Van Persie is trash. He needs to go. He needs to leave. He gets too much money. He's done. He's finished. Some Fenerbahce fans were saying that about Van Persie. We are talking about Van Persie, who was a brilliant player in my opinion. But the fans were expecting so much from him since the day we signed him. So that's why I don't wanna. Whenever I speak to Fenerbahce fans, I always tell, okay, okay, even if it is happening, even if we are signing Mesut Özil, we shouldn't expect him to like win us trophies. We just let him play. We just let's see let's see what he is capable of to do at Fenerbahce. Because you never know. If you sign a player, you never know how he will perform well. Yeah, Mesut Özil, wherever he went, like in Bundesliga, in La Liga, in the Premier League, he has done well in my opinion. He, like, if you check his stats, there's nothing to talk about. His stats tell you everything. So I expect him to do well in the Turkish Super League, but I don't really expect him to do well in every game. There will be some games that he won't be doing well, which is normal because you can expect those players to be like robots, in my opinion. So
absolutely. If I can just give a quick anecdote about Robin van Persie, obviously being based here in the Netherlands, when he signed for Fenerbahce, he was genuinely really excited at the prospect of playing for Fenerbahce. It was written all over his face. And when he left Fenerbahce, he had the opportunity to sign for LA Galaxy, and he decided against it because obviously due to family commitments, he decided to return to the Netherlands with Feyenoord. And this is another point I'm trying to make. People seem to put 2 and 2 together and come up with 5 of, oh, when he's finished his career, he'll go there, and then he'll go and do this. It's very naive of certain fans to think that you can plan a career. You know, Van Persie, by his own admission, he would have liked to have gone to Los Angeles. It would have been nice to have that season or 2 playing in America, living in Los Angeles. But obviously his family commitments were too important to him as a family man and as a father at that time. And one of the things I try to do with my interviews is you're always looking at the human element of players. You know, you think of how many players don't make the grade or come through the youth setup at a really big club only to be told at the age of 16, 17, 18 that they won't be making the grade to play or get a scholarship. And these are a lot of things. These are a lot of things that lots of fans, especially that have a lot of clout on social media, that they really forget. And one of the things I try to do with my own interviews or when I'm on different podcasts is always try to let people know about the other side of it, behind what they see on television. You know, you're dealing with professional players and managers, you're dealing with people that have families, and when you're leveling criticism, it's like you imagine doing your day job, whether you are a baker, a solicitor, a traffic warden, and receiving a lot of abuse when trying to do your job, and think how it might be. But it's been an absolute pleasure tonight, guys. I've really enjoyed it. I hope you've all enjoyed it as much as I have, and I hope the listeners have too.
It's a big pleasure for us to have you. And before we just and the podcast, as you just mentioned, from Percy to LA Galaxy team. So Mesut Özil was also linked with DC United. And the Mams told me, there's an offer from DC United from Mesut Özil, but there's lots of money from DC United from America, but him and his family want to live in Turkey. This is another thing about Mesut Özil, because he's Turkish and his wife is Turkish, so which is normal for them to want to live in Turkey. So this is why I'm really happy to hear that. That's why I'm very positive about Mesut Özil move. So hope it will happen, and so this case will be over for both Arsenal and Mesut Özil. And thank you once again for joining us, James. It's been a big pleasure, and I will just leave your website links in the link descriptions. So hopefully people read your interviews, and you're doing a great job. Keep it up.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the kind words. It's been a pleasure. As I say, listeners can follow my work on @James Rowe NL and The Secret Footballer and Football CFB. It's been a great pleasure, guys. Stay safe, and I look forward to speaking to you both in future.
Thank you again. Stay safe too. See you in the next
episode.
Peace out, people. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.